Hello, writer friends. Welcome to Let's Write Scripts. I'm Micah Craddy, a WGA screenwriter and the head of writing at Arc Studio, the best screenwriting app in the world. If you want to use it to start writing your script for free, go to arcstudiopro.com, Google Arc Studio, or click on the link in the description. That's very handy. This is Let's Write Scripts. Today on the show, we are going to do 3 timed writing sprints where you can just focus in on your script or whatever other creative project you're here to write, but probably a script. So we're going to be doing 3 timed writing sprints for that. And then in the breaks between the sprints, we'll be chatting about screenwriting. I'll be answering screenwriting questions, and we're just going to be having a grand old time. It's going to be a lot of fun. But before we get into it, I want to know, where are you and what are you writing today? Love seeing for everybody from all over the world. We have covered every continent except my ongoing quest to get someone from Antarctica to join in. So if you're in Antarctica or you know someone in Antarctica who's into screenwriting, please forward them the link to this Let's Write Scripts for the next one, because I just really want to get real. I've had some people try to slide in and pretend to be Antarcticans, but it's a lie. It's all a lie. It's been fake. So I want to know, where are you? What are you writing today? Love hearing about everyone's writing projects. Are you writing a feature film? Are you writing a short film? Are you working on a TV pilot? Or maybe some other creative thing like a short story or a novel or essay? People have been writing poetry, or maybe you're just at work and you need some creative company, so you're just working on that. Whatever it is, get in the chat. Let me know, where are you or what are you writing today? And then for our discussion question, we always have a discussion question too, to just kind of get our brains going. Because, like, I don't know what you were doing. You were eating lunch, you were working, you were, your brain's on 1,000 things, but maybe you weren't writing. So to get our brains into the right mode, I like to have a discussion question. Today's discussion question is, how do you surprise the reader? And why would you want to? So we're going to talk a little bit about surprise, about surprising the reader, about how to do it, about why you want to do it. I'd love to hear some of y'all's thoughts about surprising the reader or the audience. It's interesting because, like, in screenwriting, you're writing for a reader and ultimately writing for an audience. So it's strange. But the first step is the reader. So that's why we're going to focus on that. How do you surprise the reader? And if you're feeling it, please like this video, hit subscribe, and turn notifications on. It really helps. And of course, during the second break, we're going to show the sandwich of the week. And if you're new and you're like, what is the sandwich of the week? Then you're going to have to wait till the second break. But spoiler, it's the best looking sandwich that I make every week. And I take a lot of pride in my sandwiches. And it's a little bit of a highlight here on Let's Write Scripts. So we're going to get into that. Love seeing people in the chat. Be relentless, be fierce. Hey, it's been a minute. Glad you are back. Shako saying, I was a quick look at your IMDb earlier today. Is there anywhere we can watch your short films? Sure, you can just search my name on YouTube. They're on there. Well, one's on Vimeo, the latest one I did, which, I haven't done it in a while, but that one was called Believers. It's on Vimeo, and then the others are on YouTube. And yeah, it's kind of fun because I've made like 4 short films, and they've sort of gone a little bigger budget. Like the first one is, I think it's online. It's like the lowest budget thing, but I actually have a good time when I go back and watch it. Like, when you go back and you revisit your old work, it can be painful at times. But like, there's also a couple of things and you're like, I don't know, I think that was pretty good. There are like a couple moments in that one. Jennifer Jane, you're on another YouTube page. Yeah, it's good. If your handle doesn't say your name, I love when you include it. So Jane, or Jennifer Jane, so glad that you are with us today. And thank you. Yes, ongoing quest to get somebody to join from Antarctica. If you go, bring your laptop, have a great satellite link. I don't know how good the internet is down there, but it's got to be good enough to like stream YouTube. So somebody from Antarctica join. Cash in Arkansas is working on pilot homework. For the pilot course that you're doing, Brent Forrester, right? Yeah. So Brent Forrester, writer for The Simpsons, a lot of shows. The Office. He's been a guest on Let's Write Scripts a couple times, and he has a pilot writing course. That's really cool. Zoe in South Africa, having fun with a short story. Awesome. So glad you're here. Paula, welcome back from Nova. Kind of stuck doing work. That kind of sucks. I apologize. I feel bad, but at least you're gonna have a little creative company as you do it. Tessa in Studio City working on a pitch deck. Diamond in Marina Del Rey, the LA folks in the house working on developing a new pilot, feeling really good about it. Awesome. I love that. And Jennifer Jane's working on a, oh my goodness, feature inspired by true events. One of the death of my sister was wrongfully put in jail. That, my goodness, sounds, well, I'm so sorry about that. That sounds horrific, but it also seems like very fruitful grounds for a project. So best of luck on that. We're talking about surprise a little bit. How would you surprise the reader? Why would you want to? Diamond saying, I love surprise in the TV Hannibal script. Right on page 30 simply adds, he's eating them. My favorite WTF moment. Yeah, that's a surprise moment. Juno in Massachusetts working on your book today, surprising the reader, set up misdirect early on, guide expectations the wrong way deliberately. Then when the moment is right, pounce. Yes, that's a great thing about surprising the reader or the audience ultimately, in that it's an intentional act. Like I think a lot of times where surprises go wrong is when it's just kind of like, what's a crazy thing that can happen right here? Like what's just something, all of a sudden this thing happens, and it's just kind of, it's less surprising and more jarring, right? And like there are times when jarring, it's not necessarily always bad, but like surprising, it's a little different flavor. And surprising has to do with what you mentioned there about guiding expectations. So a surprise isn't just like a random thing that you're throwing in. It's like a controlled thing that you're constructing, where you are guiding the expectations of the reader in a certain direction for a purpose, and then twisting it, right? You sort of get them on rails, get them going in one direction, and then when they think they know what's going to happen, right? When they have some sort of expectation, you pull the rug out from under, you do the switch, you do the thing, and you pull the surprise. So yes, guiding expectations the wrong way is a fantastic element of surprises. Pam in New Mexico working on your rom-com, surprising with a twist at the midpoint. Love talking about midpoint twists. You know, I have that video on YouTube on this channel about a midpoint twist. You can check that out. Want to add surprises so they don't get bored, so they continue reading through the end. Just kidding. Yes. So we're talking about like also what's the point of a surprise? Why would you do it? And surprises can be exciting. They can be fun. They can snap the reader out a little bit of a funk, right? Because when you kind of know where you think where something is going and you're ahead of it a little bit, it can be kind of fun. You can feel smart, but after a while, like it pulls you out of it a little bit. It's not engaged, but a surprise makes you reevaluate things, right? You're like, what is this? What's going to happen? It kind of opens up the possibilities of what could happen in the script. It adds excitement. So yeah, that's one of the great things about surprises. I would say the best surprises are logical but unexpected. Yeah, I mean, so there's the whole idea of the surprising but inevitable betrayal. It's kind of become a little bit of a trope. But yeah, surprising but inevitable, I think, is logical but unexpected is sort of it's a similar kind of a thing, where again, it's not random, right? Oftentimes in surprises, you can have breadcrumbs along the way. It can make sense in retrospect. So I think that is interesting, that like it's logical. It sort of makes sense, but it also like logical doesn't necessarily mean like it can mean emotionally logical for the character, right? Like if the surprise is like a character's actions, you know, sometimes it can make sense. You're like, oh yeah, that character had something about them. They had some aspect of their personality, some aspect of their a flaw or something that kind of, it makes sense. Like it's a surprise that it happens, but like, yes, in retrospect, when you look back at it, you're like, I get it. I can make sense. Kiwi in Chile, Pennsylvania, in revision purgatory. I mean, we've all spent a good deal of time in revision purgatory. I hope you can see a little bit of the paradise insight as you do there. Ryan's working on a new project. Welcome back. You were doing, Shogo's doing some studying for trig test, but Stars Light for scripts. Don't worry, it's just a class test, no impact on grade. Well, you know, screenwriting comes first. That's what I can say. I don't care about your grades. Math. When is trigonometry ever going to be useful in life? Actually, no, trigonometry is incredibly useful. It's kind of funny because I remember like back when I was in school, there are all these things you're like, you know, when am I going to use this? You know, in like a science class or a math class, and you're like, mostly have never used most of that stuff. But in retrospect, as I become an old person, like I've realized that like, oh, for a lot of that wasn't even like necessarily the math itself. Like a lot of it was just like training your brain to think, like to it's like exercise for your brain. So I've come around a little bit on math here. D from Dallas is working on a spec limited series. Awesome. Eats a lot of bread is back. I love it. More bread here. Loving the topic. Let's do about surprises. My grandmother hates surprises. You know what's funny is that like there are so many things that I love putting like in my scripts that I hate in real life. Like I put in so much awkward tension and dark comedy and like stress in my scripts that just really bother me in real life. And I feel like that's kind of interesting. One of the great things about writing is that there's kind of this expectation sometimes that you'll write about like what you like, but writing could also help you like deal with your anxieties. Like one of my buddies is a horror writer director, and like he was scared of everything as a kid. That's what he says. And so that's kind of when he got into horror, so sort of like explore everything he was afraid of. So it is kind of funny how sometimes writing can be an expression of what you love to do, but also it could be an exploration of the things that you hate or the things that, you know, bother you. So fantastic. CRN in Ireland. So it's evening for you. Good evening. Yes, in Ireland. Good afternoon here in the States. Episodic script is done. A friend and I are thinking with thriller mystery set off the Western Islands in Ireland. Oh, that sounds great. That sounds like a very like gray, gloomy, like windswept, rainy, fantastic setting for a mystery, I will have to say. All right. So glad you all are here. I kind of like talked a little bit about, you know, what I wanted to say about expectations, about surprises, about managing expectations, about the difference between kind of jarring someone and surprising someone. But like one of the benefits too, like, is that it can allow for a pivot in a story. Like I think Pam was talking about a surprise at the midpoint. And it's oftentimes where you see this. It's not the only place you'll see it, but often in the middle, that a surprise can let you take the story in another direction. You can add another dimension to a character. You can add a jolt of energy into the story and grab the reader's attention. But again, it can also create like a pivot point in your story where you can take something in a different direction, where you can add an escalation. People are always talking about like escalating your story, making things more intense. And a surprise is one of the ways you can do it. You can kind of think of it as a catapult, that the surprise happens and suddenly you're off in a new direction in an exciting way. So there's a lot of things that a surprise can do for you. So yeah, kind of that's surprises. Maybe we can chat a little bit more about those later. I think we are going to get into our first writing sprint. So again, if this is your first time and you're like, what is this thing? What's going to happen? What is a writing sprint even? That's a good question. Because there is no actual running involved in this unless you want to, which would be challenging. But hey, and maybe dangerous to write and run at the same time. But what's going to happen in just a moment is I'm going to shrink myself off to the side. There's going to be a timer on the screen. It's going to be counting down. We're going to play some vibey, chill music. And during the sprint, you just lock in on whatever you're here to work on, whatever your writing project is. We're all at different points of the process. So they're unprompted sprints. This is just like a time for you to use however you want. So yeah, we're going to start with the 15-minute sprint, which is a warm-up sprint. Like it's just like really low pressure, no like low bar. Don't worry about it. Oftentimes you're just kind of reading back over where you were before last time, like trying to get your head back in that space. Or you can be doing some free writing, or if you're ready, you can just hop in and do whatever it is that you're here to do. But we're going to do it for 15 minutes. And after the 15 minutes is up, we'll come back together and we'll chat about how our writing went. And I will answer any screenwriting questions you have, any questions about the craft of screenwriting. And then we're just going to go from there. So I think we're going to do it. Hello to a couple of people who have just joined. Kelly from Kansas, addressing notes for a drama feature. And Brian in Florida is working on your graphic novel. So glad y'all are here. Let's do it. I think we're all here to write. I think we're going to jump into it. I'm going to get the music going here. 15 minutes on the clock. And I'll meet you guys all on the other side. Thank yourselves for setting aside this time for your writing. It's so important that we as creative people do this, come together, and just like, give time to our writing, thing we love. So enough of me. Let's do that thing here. 15 minutes on the clock. I'll catch you guys on the other side. All right, that brings us to the end of the first writing sprint here on Let's Write Scripts, brought to you by Arc Studio, best screenwriting app in the world. If you joined us during that writing sprint, thank you for being here. So glad you are with us here on this, for me, actually a gray. I didn't do my intro. Yeah, I'm in LA, and it's been like really hot lately, but winter showed up briefly today. So actually we got some rain this morning, and it's kind of gray and chilly, which is nice because it's February, and it's weird when it's 90 degrees in February. It's like an apocalyptic feeling that I don't love. But anyways, if you joined during that sprint, this is Let's Write Scripts, a weekly YouTube show brought to you by Arc Studio, screenwriting, about screenwriting, where we do timed writing sprints where you can work on your script and I answer screenwriting questions, and you just have community and, like, make a time for yourself and for your writing. And it's pretty awesome. If you did that writing sprint, that 15-minute warm-up sprint that we just finished, I want to know, how did it go? How's your writing going today? Are you feeling it? Is there a creative energy in the air? Is something swirling around you? Are you channeling it? Is it making its way onto your computer? Or perhaps you're writing by hand in a notebook, which would also be cool. Yeah, let me know. Let me know how the writing's going. Or is there some sort of disconnect? Is the creative energy swirling around you, not making it into your brain? Or is it something else swirling above you that's not creative energy? It's frustration or something negative. And if there is something problematic going on in your writing right now, what is it? Do you have any specific questions? I'd love to answer any questions. Are you struggling with anything in the script, the structure, the story, something with the characters, some of your dialogue, any particular screenwriting questions that you have? Feel free to get into the chat and let me know. And I would love to answer it for you, and I do my best to answer, and other people can answer as well. So that's kind of what we're here to do. For me, this sprint was interesting. I'm kind of wrestling with some structural issues, some big questions, which I would rather not be struggling with at this point, honestly. But sometimes you just kind of have to be open to it. I saw William Poole here in the chat. Also, welcome to Christian and William. William mentioned he'd been stuck and dissatisfied for about a week and just decided to need to go back 15 pages and start again from there, as they don't contribute to what I'm trying to achieve. Worth doing sometimes. Just got to brave it and not be too precious. And I think there's a lot of wisdom there, and just got to brave it and not be too precious. I mean, it is so easy to feel precious about your work. One, because you're emotionally invested in it, but it's also that to redo something, to rework something, it takes energy, it takes effort, it takes time. It is hard. It is work. And so it's much easier to be precious about your work because that doesn't require anything of you. It requires you to do no more work. And I firmly believe that we are, as a species, inherently lazy, and will take most often the path of least resistance. And that can mean dealing with the problems in your script. So I think it's a worthy topic here. I'm glad William brought this up. And that's I feel like what I'm doing, and I'm not struggling with it so much in the sense that, like, I don't want to do this, because I'm like, I really want to crack this thing that I'm working on right now. But it's just, it's an ongoing process, even though, like, when we have a sense, like, structure is so tricky. Because for me, it's particularly, like, I can only really feel the structure, like, when it's not working, if that makes sense. When you're like, this is not going the way it should be. The structure's wrong. It felt right in the abstract, but when I'm in it, that's when I can actually feel it. So that's what I'm working on. Views aren't sharing. Sorry, man. They're busy with Kelly. So sometimes that's how it is. You lose a muse goes to someone else. Hopefully they'll come back. Zoe's synapses are firing. Cash is most of the work money, so now I'm stuck with the hard work. Yeah, sometimes you got to do the hard work. CRN's getting more and more ideas. Your point on the weather, the island has given me an idea based on the duration, how it goes. Starting dry, starting the descends into miserable windy. Oh, that's so fun. I mean, atmosphere, I think, can be such, like, a wonderful part of a script. Like, the weather, the setting, when the setting becomes character, I think is so cool. It can be so satisfying. And I mean, weather can do with a lot, because, like, one, you can, like, literally do plot things with the weather. For one, just like, you're on an island. If there's a storm, now you're trapped, right, on the island. The ferry whatever that connects you to the island can't run, a plane can't land or whatever, so there's so much you can do like with setting, particularly if you're in something like an island, yeah, that's really cool. But like it could be atmosphere and mood, or it could be plot, or it can be character. You have a rainy day, and I'm not even talking about just like this script in particular, your script, but like, if it's a rainy day and everyone's just stuck inside, right? Like that can be such a great dramatic, setting. So yeah, weather is not to be overlooked in terms of your script here. Ryan, how do I find a way to end an episode? So this sounds like you're talking about serialized storytelling, like a web series or a TV show. So basically what you want to do, especially if it's serialized, right? Like it's an ongoing story. You want to have each episode basically be about one question. So you're kind of like answering one question in a way that leads to the next question. So you have a story of the week, oftentimes, or a problem. Basically, the easiest way to think about it is that there's some big problem for each episode, right? And you end the episode by resolving that problem. It can mean solving it. It can mean finding out that was a different problem than you thought. But basically, I think the easiest way to think about ending an episode is figuring out what is the problem of the episode, and the ending is what is the resolution to that problem. Kiwi, you need to try to rehash a character so that she has a blind spot flaws. Right now, she's too perfect. Oh, don't be too perfect. But like, honestly, perfection can be interesting because I think that can like perfection and imply imperfections in a way, because it's like, why are they trying so hard? Like, what are they trying to prove? What like deep insecurities are being covered over by this sense of perfectionism? Why do they need to be like so controlled, right? So that can be very fruitful. Yeah, a perfect character can really be a manifestation of some like really deep imperfection. So that sounds cool here. Pamela had an interesting sprint, started to think about surprises and starting my story in a direction that will change, give me new ideas, but now I'm wondering how often to keep changing a story. This is the trick. Sometimes you just have to pick a direction and go with it, at least to the end of a draft. It's tough. You can always revise. You can always rewrite. And there's it's just a trust your gut situation. There really isn't an answer to that. You just kind of have to be like, it can take a while to find the right lane. And that's true. But then eventually you have to pick a lane and go for it. And you only kind of figure out if it worked or not at the end. But it's following your gut. Kelly, I love what Eric Ross says. If you get stuck in a scene, change the weather. Yeah, weather is fantastic here. Juno, yeah, weather is such a great environmental variable to change the story, sometimes to force the characters to do something different. Yeah, you can mess up a routine. You can bring people together who wouldn't otherwise be together. It's just, and weather, environment, I mean, that can be a lot of things, right? It can be, the same thing can be accomplished by a car breaking down, or, there's just a lot of ways that you can just say the environment, the train's delayed, right? There's traffic, like there's just whatever sort of the environment is. Like if you broaden weather to sort of environment, then yeah, a lot of things can change and influence your story here. One famous quote from Chris Nolan I always go back to is, there a problem with the third act? There's actually a problem with the first. Yeah, I think that's kind of goes, that predates Christopher Nolan. That one's been around for a really long time. Generally, yeah, in any kind of problem, you learn about it in the third act, but you created it probably earlier. If your third act is too long, but I love it, what should I do? I mean, it depends on a lot of things. Why is it too long? And what do you love about it? And is there a way to keep what you love about it by, trimming it down? There's a lot of variables in that, but sometimes you do have to, they say like kill your darlings, right? Like if you love it, do you love it, or is it helping the script? Is it helping the story that you're trying to tell? Because if there's a difference between those two, if you love it, but it's getting in the way, then you might need to think about cutting things down. And Brian, also a lot of people about environment and weather right now. Awesome. Maybe there's something literally in the weather, but I love it. All right, great. This is a great start to, I want to do like a scientific study where I analyze my voice when I start the show and like after the first writing sprint, or when I start and I get into it. Because I feel like I'm always just happier after we do a writing sprint, we get into it, we're talking about it. And yeah, and I love it. I love talking about this stuff. Is the rule that the first and third act shouldn't be more than 24% of the runtime individually, or is that made up? It's a rough guideline. Basically, generally, your second act is longer, right? That's like the meat of it. It's a guideline. It's not, like sometimes third acts are actually like pretty condensed, some things would be a little longer. But like thinking of the first act as 25%, the third act as 25%, and the second act is 50% is a good guideline. But it's not a rule. It's just a way to kind of think about that, like the heart of your story, what your first act is setting things up. Your third act is concluding it, bring it to a head. And the middle, the second act, is like what the story is. So that's kind of like why it's longer. It is the story. William saw Park Chan-wook's No Other Choice, which I've also seen the other day, and the third act was crazy long, but the setup in the first was still good. It didn't drag. You just got to feel it. If it feels too long, it is. Cool. Yeah. I liked No Other Choice. It was so interesting. That was a movie where like I feel like I should have liked it more than I did, just because I didn't like everything about it was great, but I was so just like didn't want to like I didn't want the character to succeed, really, which is sort of strange, like in a way which I wasn't like as invested in his journey as like maybe I otherwise be. But really like fantastic like dark comedy, and some of the character work in that movie was great. The second act is typically longer. Yeah, I mean, look, a lot of this comes down to like where you define the acts, but generally the second act of a movie is it's like the heart of the movie. But I don't know, don't stress out. Don't stress out about it. Or if your first act is so long, then that could be more of a problem. I feel like the second and third act you can get a little bit, but if your first act it's taking too long to tell the story, it's worth looking into. Like you want to get the story going, as soon as you can, I would say. But these are all general guidelines. Again, I like tools, not rules, is my philosophy, right? These are tools to use. There aren't rules. I mean, there's, some things that are generally preferred, but in terms of like what you do in your story, you can do whatever you want in your story. These are just sort of tools to help you use, to help you. All right. Anyways, but let's move on to the next writing sprint. So we are going to move on to the second writing sprint. This is the 25-minute writing sprint. Again, it's the Goldilocks sprint. You're warmed up. You're not too tired. It's the perfect middle writing sprint. It's the meat of the sandwich. Even though I do love the bread of the sandwich too. I love all the parts of the sandwich, but the second writing sprint is generally, I feel like, when people get their best work done. So we're going to get some music going here again. This is also the music. Floating away in like a giant bubble into my creative zone here as the music starts up. But we're going to do 25 minutes on the clock, get the timer going here. And I will catch you guys on the other side. We'll chat a little more, share the sandwich of the week. And it's going to be great. So 25 minutes on the clock. Let's do it. Here we go. that is the end of the second writing sprint. Act 2 of our writing sprints, the Goldilocks writing sprint, the meat in the sandwich, whatever you want to call it. If you joined during that writing sprint, Anthea joined. Hey, so glad to see you here. Welcome to Let's Write Scripts, a weekly live streamed show here on the Arc Studio Screenwriting channel on YouTube every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific, where, we do timed writing sprints. We talk about screenwriting, answer screenwriting questions. We gather as a creative community and have a great time. And I'm so glad that you all are here. If you did that writing sprint, how did it go? Did things pick up after the first writing sprint for you? Did they get worse? I would love to hear how it is going. Get in the chat. And again, if you have any specific questions, anything you're struggling with, there's one question here that I want to get into about acts, which I think is a good discussion. Please get into the chat and let me know. And we'll also show the sandwich of the week. But so the big question here is, could you explain an act? I just realized that I've been shoving act breaks anywhere. So it's kind of a complicated question because in some ways it's like very simple and in some ways it's very abstract. And it's also an act is sort of different in different contexts. So kind of acts came from plays, right? So you'd have like the first act and the second act, and there'd be like a big change in the middle. It was like the two halves of a play, basically. And then that kind of got in screenwriting evolved where basically you have acts in TV and acts in movies, which were kind of different. It's sort of simpler in TV because historically acts in TV were just, that's where the commercials were. So you'd have an act and then there'd be a commercial and then you have the next act and then the next commercial, etc. And it would be, spread out that ways. And in TV, and this is kind of helpful in also sort of thinking about it in movies, but basically what happens is that if you have a commercial, that is going to be a time where people are going to change the channel, right? Because nothing's happening in the story. So you'd have these things called act outs, right? Or the end of an act, where basically you end the act in such a way that people want to stick around to see what happens next, right? So they don't turn the channel. So you would end the act in something where, there's a question or someone is in peril, or there's a big clue was revealed and you want to see it. Basically, it's some sort of like kind of higher point in the story where things have intensified, where there's some sort of question, reveal or threat. And the story is changing, right? Something has happened and you want to stick around to find out where that goes. Now, in movies, historically, you didn't have commercial breaks. Although now, if you have like Amazon Prime, there are commercial breaks in movies, which is very weird that like TV doesn't have commercial breaks now, but movies sometimes do. Everything's sort of flipped a little bit. So in TV, you can talk about like 5-act structure. There's a lot of different kind of, depending if it's like a half hour or like an hour-long drama. There's all different kinds of act structures. But generally with movies, people talk about the 3-act structure. And honestly, the easiest way to think about it is not act 1, act 2, act 3, just the beginning, the middle, and the end. And that's the easiest way to sort of think about what the acts are. Act 1 is the beginning. You are setting up the story. You are introducing the characters. You are introducing the problem and starting them on their way. The middle is kind of like the story itself. It's them dealing with whatever the big problem is, trying to overcome it. Setbacks, reversals, twists, escalations, all those things. It's kind of like whatever the story is, like if it's a horror movie, it's going to be dealing with horror stuff. If it's a comedy, it's going to be a lot of like hijinks and things happening in the middle. If it's, an action movie, you're going to have action. And like the middle, easy way to think of the middle is like, that's what the story is. And the end is where things come to a head and a resolution. So the easiest way to just kind of think about it is that act 1 is you're introducing the story, introducing the problem, starting it on the way. You have your inciting incident. The middle is where things intensify. You have reversals, you have escalations, but it's like the meat kind of the story. And the end is the the climax and the resolution. Things come to a head. There's the final kind of confrontation or whatever it is, and the resolution. But it's just like, you're starting your story, you're telling your story, you're ending your story. So an act is just kind of a section of your story. But usually at the end of an act, there's a big change. Something's kind of happened. But that's kind of one of the ways to think about it a little bit here. Brian, in his sprint writing, the crest of excitement of a new character is brought. Fantastic. CR and the ideas are coming like wildfire. All you have to be dissected, see what works and what is playing crazy. Yes, wildfire can be crazy, but it can get out of control. Anthea has short film has been nominated for an NAACP Image Award. Voting open public on their website. Congratulations. That's so awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, that's fantastic. And let's see here. Ryan, do I need to make beats for a script or can I just free write? You can do whatever you want. Yeah, there's no rules on this. There are downsides to not figuring out beats of your story, and that is that you can sort of go off on rabbit trails and it can take longer. It can also lead to wonderful discoveries, and surprises and things that, you wouldn't have considered earlier on that you just kind of find in the moment as you write them. But it can kind of risk being aimless, when you don't really know what's going. And honestly, it's usually something in the middle. Every writer has their own different kind of approach to outlining. Some people like fully outline and figure out everything else first and go in. Some people do no outlining and go completely free. Most people are somewhere in the middle. You're going to figure out some sort of structure, where you're going, some of the main beats, some of the main turning points, and then you figure out more as you go. And it's just kind of like, it's a spectrum. So it's just kind of a question of like, where on that spectrum are you? But generally, it is good to know, to have some idea where you're going, I would say, at the least, at the minimum. All right. Cool. So I'm also now, let's do the sandwich of the week. And if you're new and you're like, what is the sandwich of the week? Every week I show you the best looking sandwich that I made that week and I ate that week. Occasionally it'll be a vacation sandwich I didn't make, but usually 95% of the time it is a sandwich that I made. And in honor of the upcoming Valentine's Day, we have this sandwich. So happy Sandwich Day. And this was kind of fun. I was actually at my friends for the Super Bowl and they had a sandwich spread, like a make your own sandwich kind of thing, which they're like they do things nicely at their house. Everything looks really nice. So it was a sandwich here. And so they had a lot of stuff. So on my sandwich, you see the ciabatta bread there, the turkey, salami, bacon, different kinds of Swiss and cheddar, and also I think that's a little mozzarella. But on this sandwich, I had, it was on ciabatta. I had turkey, bacon, Swiss cheese, avocado, pickled onions, broccoli sprouts, mayo, tarragon mustard, oil, and vinegar. And I think that was it. Yeah, but this was a delicious. Yeah, it was really nice. The tomato circles, I think they were like salted and peppered too. The tomatoes were really nice. But yeah, it was a classy touch. Everything looks very classy. A sandwich maker's heaven. Yeah, I enjoyed it. That's the kind of party that I like. I thought they were gonna be like have wings or something, but instead they had a sandwich. It's so perfect. It looks like that's sad. Don't say that. No, it's beautiful. This is beautiful and human, and it's thoughtful. It is anti-AI. It is anti-AI. It is filled with intention and joy and love. And that's what I'll say about that. But yeah, so that nice sandwich bread into the sandwich of the week. Happy Sandwich Day, everyone. Coming up February 14th. If you're not celebrating Valentine's Day, you can celebrate Sandwich Day. Really, the great thing about Sandwich Day is you can celebrate it any day, any day of the year. But here we go. This is the sandwich of the week, and it was fantastic. It was a great sandwich, and it was nice to sort of make a sandwich in someone else's home. And it was also great because after I made this sandwich, I'm like walking around their house trying to find a place with good lighting to take the photo of it. So I'm like in their kitchen, I'm in their living room, just sort of like walking around with my plate and my phone, trying to like find the best angle, for it. There we go. Oh yeah, my friends, people like often in my life know about sandwiches. That's why I actually made the first sandwich. They're like, Micah, you're the sandwich expert, and so I had to go first, which I felt a lot of pressure, to be honest, because I'm like, oh, I'm out of my element. I'm in someone else's home. I'm using their ingredients, but they do know. Yeah, people in my life know about the sandwiches here. Be relentless. Is it best and pertinent to create an outline of the screenplay and then write it, or just start writing? Yeah, this we just talked about this. Yeah, that this is the same as the question basically that Ryan was answering about needing to make beats for a script or just free write. Yeah, so it's as I mentioned before, it's up to you, right? It's a writer. How much outlining you want to do is up to you. Generally, there is a spectrum on this. So on one end, there's the people in fiction writing, it's called plotters and pantsers, people who are very into plotting, figuring out the outline, and people who write by the seat of their pants. And I think most people actually kind of fall in between, right? Some outlining, some people like fully outline. They know everything. Like they know everything before they go. And some people know nothing. And I think most people are somewhere in between, and I'm somewhere in between, where I want to know where I'm going. But for me, there's a lot of discovery. When you say the creative process, I like finding things along the way. But I think it's really helpful to know where is your story going, because it's kind of like, what is the story? What are you leading towards? Like, what is the journey that your character's going on? What are some of the big turning points that are going to happen? Some idea of where you're going to end up. Sometimes you know the ending, sometimes you don't know the ending, sometimes you just kind of know the general idea. But I think it is good to have a sense of that. There we go. But yeah, some people can't work without an outline. And I have some. I like to do some outlining, but I'm not as intense as some outlining. Some people do with their outlines. All right, we are running late here. We're gonna do one more writing sprint. We're gonna end with like this. That sandwich reminded me of those old grocery store commercials. Yeah, this spread does kind of have this sense of like a grocery store commercial. I love that. Okay, so let's finish it off with the sprint. We're gonna do a 15-minute writing sprint here at the end. Thank you so much for joining. If this was your first time or your second time or your third time, I hope you come back. And if you're a regular, I also hope you come back. But yeah, we'll be back next week at 1 p.m. Pacific here on the Arc Studio Screenwriting channel. Basically every week, but you can always check and see if it's on the channel. And you can RSVP if you want. There's a link in the description too, so you can add it to your calendar so you don't forget. Yeah, so glad you're here. If you have to head out during the sprint, no worries. Say goodbye in the chat. Let me know how it went. Always love hearing that. Love seeing a farewell. And if not, we will say our final farewells at the very end. But I think we're going to get it now 15 minutes on the clock. Here, let's do it. 15 minutes on the clock. Happy writing. All right. That brings us to the end of Let's Write Scripts for Wednesday, February 11th. Thank you all so much for being here. Hope you had a great time. Hope you got some writing done, maybe learned some stuff, maybe just had a fun time, maybe enjoyed that creative energy. We'll be back next week, February 18th, same time, Wednesday, 1 p.m. Pacific. I hope to see you all here. If it was your first time, I hope you had a great time. I hope to see you back. Until then, be kind to yourselves, keep writing. Don't try to make this not the totality of your writing, but only the start of it. Let it be a launching pad. Try to find time in your schedules, find a routine so that you can keep writing. And then until then, I guess I'll see you all next week. So take care of yourselves, guys. Hasta luego. Hit the wrong button. All right, goodbye for real.